some other sentient beings, limitless as space, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be free of suffering and the causes of suffering. May they not be separate from the sacred happiness that is free of sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free of attachment and aversion.
The unsurpassed, profound, and wonderful Dharma is difficult to encounter in hundreds of millions of eons. I now see and hear it, receive and uphold it, and I vow to fathom the Tathagata's true meaning.
Preface by Huineng, 6th Grand Master of Zen. The Diamond Sutra has no form as its source, no abiding as its substance, subtle being as its function. Ever since Bodhidharma came from the West to communicate the intent of this sutra, he got people to realize noumenon and see essential nature. It was just because people of the world do not see their own essential nature that the teaching of seeing essential nature was established. If people of the world clearly see the original body of reality as is, then it is not necessary to establish a teaching. This sutra is read and recited by countless numbers of people, lauded and eulogized by infinite numbers of people. Over 800 people had composed commentaries and explanatory notes, the reasoning they expound each being according to what they see. Yet, though perceptions may not be the same, truth has no second. Those who have earlier developed higher faculties will immediately understand on hearing once. Those who do not already have insight may read and recite many times without understanding what Buddha meant. That is the reason for interpreting the meaning of the sage, to remove students' doubts. If you get the essential message of this sutra beyond a doubt, you do not need explanation. The good things expounded by the realized ones since time immemorial are expounded for the purpose of eliminating ordinary people's bad attitudes. Sutras are sayings of sages, which teach people who listen to them to transcend the profane and realize the sacred, forever stopping confusion. This one scroll sutra originally exists in the essential nature of all living beings. People who do not see it themselves just read and recite written letters. If you realize your original mind, you will realize for the first time that this sutra is not in written letters. If you can clearly understand your own essential nature, only then will you really believe that all the Buddhas emerge from this sutra. Now I fear that people of the world will see Buddha outside their own bodies or pursue the sutra externally, without discovering the inner mind, without holding the inner sutra. Therefore, I have composed this Secrets of the Sutra to get students to hold the Sutra of the inner mind and clearly see the pure Buddha mind themselves, beyond number, impossible to conceive. If students of later times have doubts on reading the scripture, when they see this interpretation, their doubts will melt away, and then they won't need the secrets anymore. What I hope is that students will all see the gold within the ore and use the fire of wisdom to refine it out. When the dross is gone, the gold remains. Our original teacher Shakyamuni Buddha spoke the Diamond Sutra in Shravasti. As Subhuti raised questions, the Buddha very compassionately explained for him. Subhuti attained enlightenment on hearing the teaching and asked Buddha to give the teaching a name, according to which later people could absorb and hold it. Therefore, the sutra says, the Buddha told Subhuti, "This sutra is named Diamond Prajnaparamita, and you should uphold it by this name." The Diamond Prajnaparamita spoke of by the realized one takes its name from a metaphor for the truth. What does it mean? Diamond is extremely sharp by nature and can break through all sorts of things. But though diamond is extremely hard, horn can break it. Diamond stands for Buddha nature. Horn stands for afflictions. Hard as diamond is, horn can break it. Stable though the Buddha nature is, afflictions can derange it. Even though afflictions may be intractable, prajna knowledge can destroy them. Even though horn may be hard, fine steel can break it. Those who realize this principle clearly see essential nature. The Nirvana Sutra says, those who see Buddha nature are not called ordinary people. Those who do not see Buddha nature are called ordinary people. The metaphor of the diamond expounded by the realized one is for the sake of the people in the world without stability of nature. They may recite the scripture, but illumination does not develop. If they would practice inwardly as well as recite outwardly, they would be equally illumined. If they are not firm within, stability and insight are lost. If they practice mentally as well as recite verbally, stability and insight will be equal. This is called the ultimate end. Gold is in the mountain, but the mountain does not know it is precious. And the treasure does not know this is a mountain either. Why? Because they are inanimate. Human beings are animate and avail themselves to the use of the treasure. If they find a metal worker to mine the mountain, take the ore and smelt it, eventually it becomes pure gold, to be used at will to escape the pains of poverty. So it is with the Buddha nature in the physical body. The body is like the world. Personal self is like the mountain. Afflictions are like the ore. Buddha nature is like the gold. Wisdom is like the master craftsman. Intensity of diligence is like digging. In the world of the body is the mountain of personal self. In the world of the body is the mountain of personal self. In the mountain of personal self is the ore of affliction. In the ore of affliction is the jewel of Buddha nature. Within the jewel of Buddha nature is the master craftsman of wisdom. We employ the master craftsman of wisdom to drill through the mountain of the personal self and discover the ore of afflictions. Smelt it in the fire of awakening and see our own adamantine Buddha nature perfectly luminous and clear. Therefore, the diamond is used as a metaphor, and hence the name. If you only understand, but do not act on it, there is the name without substance. If you understand the meaning and put it into practice, name and substance are both there. If you don't cultivate it, you are an ordinary mortal. If you do cultivate it, you are the same as a sage. Therefore it is called diamond. What does prajna mean? Prajna is a Sanskrit word rendered into Chinese as insightful wisdom. Insight is not giving rise to ignorant attitudes. Wisdom is having the appropriate expedience. Insight is the substance of wisdom. Wisdom is the function of insight. If there is wisdom in substance, function is insightful and not ignorant. If there is no wisdom in substance, function is ignorant without insight. It is just to get rid of ignorance, folly, and being unenlightened that we cultivate insightful wisdom. What does paramita mean? It is rendered into Chinese by reaching the other shore. Reaching the other shore means detachment from birth and death. Just because people of the world lack stability of nature, they find appearances of birth and death in all things, flow in the waves of various courses of existence and have not arrived at the ground of reality as is. All of this is this shore. It is necessary to have great insight, wisdom, contemplate in respect to all things detached from appearances of birth and death. This is reaching the other shore. It is also said that when the mind is confused, it is this shore. When the mind is enlightened, it is the other shore. When the mind is distorted, it is this shore. When the mind is sound, it is the other shore. If you speak of it and carry it out mentally, then your own reality body is imbued with paramita. If you speak of it but do not carry it out mentally, there is no paramita. What does sutra mean? It means a course. It is a road to the fulfillment of Buddhahood. Whenever people want to get on this road, they should inwardly cultivate the application of prajna in order to reach the ultimate end. If you can only recite it and do not act in accord mentally, then there is no sutra, no course. If you see truthfully and act truthfully, then there is a sutra in your own mind. Therefore, the realized one entitled this sutra, the Diamond Prajna Paramita Sutra. Part 1. The Cause and Reason of the Teaching Assembly. The Prime Minister Zhang Wujin, the layman, said, "If not for the teaching, there is no way to talk about emptiness. If not for insight, there is no way to expound the teaching. The profusion of myriad things is called the cause. The responsive sensitivity of one mind is called the reason." Thus the sutra begins with a section on the cause and reason of the teaching assembly. Thus I have heard. Ananda claims that he has heard such a teaching from the Buddha. To make it clear, he is not speaking on his own. That is why he says, "Thus I have heard." Also, I is nature. Nature is I. All actions, internal and external, come from nature. Since it hears everything, it is said that I have heard. At one time, Buddha was in the countryside of Sravasti, at the grove of Jeta, donated by Sudatta. At one time means the meeting of teacher and learners, the time when all are together. Buddha is the one who is teaching. Was in is to show the location. The countryside of Sravasti was in the country of King Prasenajit. Kosala was the country, Sravasti, a city. Jeta was the crown prince. The grove was a gift of Prince Jeta. The grove originally belonged to the grandee Sudatta. Actually, it was bought from Jeta by Sudatta and given to Buddha. Buddha is a Sanskrit word, rendered in Chinese as awakened. Awakening has two meanings. One is outward awakening, seeing the emptiness of all things. The other is inward seeking, knowing the emptiness and silence of the mind, not being influenced by objects of the six senses. Outwardly not seeking others' faults, inwardly not being confused by falsehood and error. It is therefore called awakening. When awakened, you are Buddha. Together with a crowd of 1,250 great mendicants. With means that the Buddha was with the mendicants at the formless site of enlightenment. They were great mendicants because they were great arhats. The Sanskrit word bhikshu for mendicant is rendered in Chinese as able to overcome the six robbers. 1,250 is the number of mendicants. Together refers to their common presence in the spiritual assembly of equanimity. At that time, the world-honored one put on an outer robe at mealtime, took a bowl, and went into the city of Sravasti and begged for food in the city. At that time, it was late morning, almost mealtime. They put on an outer robe and took a bowl to show an educational example. To say he begged for food represents the realized one's ability to humble his mind toward all people. After begging from house to house, he returned to his original place. After eating his meal, he put away the robe and the bowl. Washing his feet, he spread out a mat and sat. Begging from house to house implies that he did not choose between the poor and the rich, teaching egalitarianism. After begging means that he begged from no more than 7 houses. Once he had been to 7 houses, he would not go to any more. It says he returned to his original place, because the Buddha's intent was to regulate the mendicants such that they would not go readily to lay people's houses except when they were invited. In washing his feet, the realized one demonstrated identification with the ordinary person. Yet in the teaching of the great vehicle, cleaning the hands and feet alone is not considered cleanliness, since cleaning the hand and feet is not comparable to cleaning the mind. If the mind is clean for a moment, then the dirt of sin is removed. Part 2. Subhuti initiates questioning. Activating insight from emptiness, question and answer illuminate each other. Therefore, the sutra follows with a section on Subhuti initiating questioning. At that time, the elder Subhuti was in the crowd. He rose from their seat, uncovered their right shoulder, knelt on their right knee, joined his palms in respect, and said to the Buddha, "It is wonderful, world-honored one, how well the realized one minds the bodhisattvas, how well he instructs the bodhisattvas." The realized one is original nature that comes from reality as is. Minding means protecting the bodhisattvas with the teaching of Prajnaparamita. Instructing means the realized one hands on the teaching of Prajnaparamita to Subhuti and the other great bodhisattvas. Minding means getting learners to mind their own bodies and minds with prajna wisdom, not allowing arbitrary occurrence of hatred and love, or infection by external objects of the six senses, falling into the bitter sea of birth and death. When every thought in your own mind is always true and falsehood is not allowed, the realized one in your own nature skillfully minds itself. As for skillful instruction, when the proceeding thought is pure, then the succeeding thought is pure. When there is no interruption, ultimately this leads to liberation. The realized one carefully instructed people, including those in his congregation, that they should always practice this, therefore it is said that he instructs well. Bodhisattva is a Sanskrit word rendered in Chinese as people with the spirit of the way, and also awakened conscious beings. The spirit of the way means always behaving respectfully, universally respecting and loving all creatures, without disdain. This is the reason by which someone is called a bodhisattva. World Honored One, when good people set their hearts on supreme perfect enlightenment, how should they live? How should they conquer their minds? Good person means an even mind, and also a correctly stabilized mind. It can perfect all good qualities and is unobstructed wherever it goes. A truly insightful mind. From a truly insightful mind, all good qualities can be produced, whether deliberate or spontaneous. Subhuti asks how all people who have set their hearts on supreme perfect enlightenment should live, and how they should conquer their minds. Subhuti sees all ordinary people are continuously restless, like whirling dust. Mental agitation arises like a whirlwind, continuing thought after thought without break. The question is how to conquer the mind to practice cultivation. The Buddha said, "Good Subhuti, as you say, the realized one minds the bodhisattvas well, and instructs the bodhisattvas well. Listen clearly now. I will explain to you. When good people set their hearts on supreme perfect enlightenment, they should live and conquer their minds thus." Yes, indeed, World Honored One, we would like to hear about it. Part 3. The True Source of the Great Vehicle. The source is beyond true and false. The vehicle has no great or small, but teaching and liberation are carried out according to the differences in people's faculties. To set aside different doctrines and single out the worthy, the sutra follows up with a section on the true source of the great vehicle. The Buddha said to Subhuti, the bodhisattva mahasattvas should conquer their minds thus. When the preceding thought is pure and the succeeding thought is pure, this is called being a bodhisattva. When one does not regress thought after thought and one's mind is always pure, even in the midst of worldly toils, this is called a mahasattva. Also, teaching and liberating people with kindness, compassion, joyfulness, and equanimity, and all sorts of appropriate skills is called being a bodhisattva. Those who are not mentally fixated on either the teacher or on those taught are called mahasattva. Respecting all living beings is where you conquer your own mind. Reality does not change, suchness does not differ. When the mind does not change or differ in any situation, that is called reality as such. Also, not being artificial outwardly is called reality. Not being vacuous inwardly is called suchness. When there is no digression thought to thought, that is called conquering the mind. All kinds of living beings, be they born from eggs, born from wombs, born from moisture, or born from transmutation, be they material, immaterial, thinking, or non-thinking, or neither thinking nor non-thinking, I have them all enter nirvana without remainder. Born from eggs means confusion. Born from wombs means habituation. Born from moisture means deviation. born from transformation means opinionation. Confusion is the reason for creating all sorts of karma. Habituation is the reason for constant repetitious routines. A deviant mind is unstable and opinionation tends toward obsession. When you excite the mind about cultivating the mind, with arbitrary views of right and wrong, inwardly you do not realize the formless truth. This is called being material. When you keep to simplicity in your inner mind and do not practice respect and charity, if you just say the simple mind is Buddha and do not cultivate virtue and knowledge, that is called being immaterial. If you do not comprehend the middle way, but see and hear and think and ponder, fixated on the externals of doctrines, talking about the conduct of Buddha without applying it in your own mind, that is called having thinking. Confused people who sit in meditation fanatically trying to get rid of illusion and do not learn kindness, compassion, joyfulness, equanimity, wisdom, and expedient skills, and so are like wood or stone, without any function, are called non-thinking. Not clinging to the concept of duality is called neither thinking. While still consciously seeking namanan is called nor non-thinking. Afflictions differ in myriad ways. All of them defile the mind. Physical forms are countless. All are called living beings. The realized one teaches all with great compassion, enabling all to enter remainderless nirvana, and thus liberate them through extinction. The realized one points out that each living being in the universe has the sublime heart of nirvana, causing them to realize it themselves and enter remainderless nirvana. Remainderless means that there are no habit forces or afflictions. Nirvana means complete purity. This is attained only by extinguishing all habit energies, causing them never to occur. Liberation means crossing over the ocean of birth and death. Buddha's mind is impartial. Wishing to enter into complete, pure, remainderless nirvana and cross the ocean of birth and death along with all living beings, sharing the same realization of all Buddhas, there are people who understand and practice, yet entertain a sense of attainment, producing a self-image, which is called the religious ego. Only when you get rid of the religious ego is it called liberation through extinction. Thus I liberate innumerable countless infinite beings through extinction, while in reality there are no beings attaining liberation through extinction. Thus, refers to the foregoing teaching. Liberation through extinction is great release. Great release means afflictions, habit energies, and all karmic obstructions are completely extinct, with no remainder. This is called great liberation. Innumerable, countless, infinite beings originally have their own individual afflictions of all kinds, greedy and angry. Bad karma. If this is not removed, they can never attain release. Therefore, Buddha said, "Thus I liberate innumerable, countless, infinite beings through extinction." When all confused people have realized their own essential nature for the first time, they will know Buddha does not entertain a self-image and possesses no knowledge of their own. When did they ever liberate beings? It is just because ordinary people do not see their own original mind that they do not know what the Buddha meant. They cling obsessively to the external appearances of things and do not arrive at the uncreated inner truth. Those who are not free of egotistic personality are called beings. If you detach from this illness, in reality, there are no beings to attain liberation through extinction. Therefore it is said, when there is no errant mind, you manifest enlightenment. Samsara and nirvana are originally equal. What liberation through extinction is there? Why? Subhuti. If bodhisattvas have image of self, images of person, images of a being, images of a liver of life. They are not bodhisattvas. The Buddha nature of ordinary beings has no difference, but they do not enter remainderless nirvana because they have 4 images. If they have the 4 images, they are ordinary beings. Without them, they are Buddhas. When confused, Buddhas are ordinary beings. When enlightened, ordinary beings are Buddhas. When confused, people slight everyone on account of having wealth, education, and social status. That is called self-image. Even if they practice benevolence, duty, courtesy, intelligence, and faith, if they are conceited about it and do not practice universal respect, saying in effect, I know how to practice benevolence, duty, courtesy, intelligence, and faith, so I don't need to respect you. This is called an image of a person. Claiming good things for oneself and passing bad things off onto others is called an image of a being. The discrimination among things, grasping and rejecting, is called an image of a liver of life. These are called the 4 images of ordinary people. Religious practitioners also have 4 images. When there are subject and object in the mind, and one slights beings, this is called self-image. Presuming upon observance of precepts and slighting those who break precepts is called an image of a person. Disdaining the miseries of the 3 mires and wishing to be born in the heavens is an image of a being. Diligent practice of good deeds out of love for long life, without forgetting attachments, is an image of a liver of life. Those who have these 4 images are ordinary beings. Those without these 4 images are Buddhas.